Hi there everybody, it's Rarity here from inkybutterfly.com. Thank you so much for joining me again today for another card making video. Last week we started playing with the brand new in colours for 2026 from Stampin Up, and I quickly showed you the new magnetic cases and things like that. So we're going to do our next colour today. So last week I featured Barely Blush when we made this lovely card with the pearl paper as well, pearlised specialty paper. So yeah, that was Barely Blush. So next up is going to be Crisp Cantaloupe. That's what we're going to use today. This is actually a returning colour. I'm just going to pop these other ones out of the way while I speak to you about that. So this one was an in colour some years ago, about the time when I joined actually. So this one's coming back, lovely peachy pink colour, and we're going to make a version of this card today, also featuring some new bits and pieces. Okay, the sample card is made with crushed curry. Okay, not a colour I use a lot of. I'm going to be doing this throughout this little sort of mini series, if you like. We'll use the new colour and we'll use one of the basics and do these nice monochromatic looks. Okay, so Crisp Cantaloupe. So here's the cardstock, really lovely colour. And just for comparison, this is what the inks look like. So you can see Crisp Cantaloupe, very similar to Petal Pink, but it's a deeper colour, and that's Calypso Coral, just in case you're thinking, oh, that looks quite similar, but actually they're not. But can you see these three are going to play together very nicely, I think. And I think these are going to look really good with like our dark blues, our navies. Isn't that cool? Okay, that's going to look nice. And as I say, the Calypso Coral is going to be a really nice sort of darker tone for that. Okay, so it's going to work really nicely with a whole heap of stuff. I think it's going to look nice with our neutrals as well. Yeah, it's like chocolate ice cream and beautiful. Okay, and there's crumb cake as well. So there's going to be plenty for us to play with. Greys with this colour for sure. Okay, so let's just pop that to one side for a moment. Now there's lots of die cutting on this card today. Now you'll be pleased to know we're not doing all of that live, or I'm not live, but you know what I mean. Okay, but I'm going to feature some new bits and some not so new bits. So this is what we're doing today. I've got these new Sunset Coast dies. There is a coordinating stamp set, but I didn't get that. But we've got these lovely dies that are going to produce like these apertures, and then I've got this one that we're using today. Some birds in there, and some cute shells that just sort of stand alone, and this net's kind of cool. Okay, so they're quite big as well. So really fun bits and pieces that we can play with on that. We're layering that circle die with the Spotlight on Nature dies. Okay, so we're going to use the largest one here, and we've also got one of the other ones to go around the edge, which we'll cut with you in a moment. Sentiment is from a new set called Phrases and Frames. Beg your pardon. So the Nice Thinking of You, isn't this a nice set? And this has a coordinating set of dies. We're not using the dies today, but it's got some fab dies. Look at those. Sneak peek. But we're not using those today. And then for embellishments, I'm going to bring out Greenery Lane. This one is a carryover. So it's in the online exclusive now. So we're just cutting out these open leaves here. I'm not using the two-step stamping element, just these three open leaves there to decorate the card today. And of course die cutting them out. Could fussy cut them, but why would we do that when we've got the dies to go with it? Okay, so card base is done already. What we will need is some of the two-tone cardstock. So here's the two-tone cardstock. Also have that pearlized paper that we saw last time. So this is how those look, and that's the comparison to the cardstock. Okay, so we're going to need stylish shapes. We can't get away from stylish shapes. It's just such a useful set. So we're going to have stylish shapes and cut that banner, so that features in the back here. There's lots of layers on this, it's all going on. And then I'm going to use this die from the Spotlight on Nature. I call this the Morse code one because it's got dots and dashes on it. Okay, and we're going to cut that from the light side cardstock. Okay, so we'll just do that quickly. So I cut off that strip so that I could cut from both sides at the same time and just save a little bit of screen time. So we'll just run those through. Okay, so like I say, I've done some of the die cutting, but you know, you want to see how it's made, right? So let's roll those through and back again. Okay, and we have our banner that we can use for our sentiment later. Let's pop that there. Okay, and then this guy cuts out all these little bits and pieces, so I'm just going to make sure those are removed from the plate. Look how well loved this plate is. So if you keep flipping and turning your plate so that you minimise the warping. Okay, so there's a little bit of a bow on that, but it's not too bad, and it's keeping going, and I will keep that going until it completely disintegrates on me. So ordinarily I would clean this die out right now, but as we're filming, I'm just going to leave that like that to make this lovely detailed element. Okay, so what I've already done is I've already die cut the larger circle there, and I've also already die cut this one too. So we need to get these all layered up, and I've got some kind of stuff all over the desk, so let's just get my little cloth there and get that off. Don't know where that's come from. So let's do a little bit of this. So this is all going to be adhered flat, so I'm just going to use some seal for this bit. And we'll line that up inside that circle. So there's like about 1/8 of an inch gap between those lovely little cut lines and then the next layer there. Okay, this one's a bit of a tighter fit, but I still think it's worthwhile, and there isn't anything else in the die collections that would go any bigger than that. The largest stylish shape is exactly the same size, and then you'd be covering up the stitching and stuff. So I went with this one, and I need some wet glue, so we can just, I'm going to hold it with this convenient little piece there that helps with I did bring in the silicone mat, but because what you could do is sponge the glue over the back of this, so you get a nice thin coating of it. But what I find is if you're very delicate, isn't always easy for everyone. It's nice, it's good to have a barely a glue that's hardly got anything left in it, and if you just squeeze ever so gently and just get just the merest of dots on that. Where did the lid go? There it is. It'll be grand. Okay, so let's just pick that up really nice and gently. Now, of course, the other thing you could do is use some sticky sheet and die cut it from that. I always forget that. So I'm lining this up just inside those little cut marks, and I'm looking to sort of get it so that the pattern's kind of even. There's a dot at the bottom, and I'm just sort of eyeballing that to sort of try and line that up. And then at the top there's a dash, and I'm just sort of looking at those little sun rays, or whatever you want to call them. I suppose they are, because it's called Sunset Coast, isn't it? And I'm going to use another mat and just press that down. Okay, and that glue is so thin it's going to dry in no time. Okay, but we'll just set it to one side, just to be sure. Okay, so that's our background element. Okay, and we've got our banner, and we've got this bit in the middle for the sentiment. So I've already die cut that, and I have purposely left it in the die here. So I'm going to grab some scrap paper, and this looks like a good candidate because it's already got pinky stuff all over it. And I'm going to leave that cardstock. This is white willow cardstock, and I'm going to leave it in the die, and then I'm going to use a blending brush. I've already used this with the ink already. Okay, so the ink pad is always in that lid to keep the ink towards the top. Okay, and of course it's a magnetic closure, so that just snaps shut. Okay, so a little bit of residual ink on there. You don't want, well, I don't want it too heavy. You might want a bit more colour on that, but I'm going to use the die almost like a mask and just go around the edge of this, and what we'll end up with is this sort of the cantaloupe colour in the middle, but the outside stays nice and white. Okay, all right, so that's a cool little technique, and you do that with any die really. This one just happens to have quite a deep frame. Some of them are a little skinnier, but what you do want to do is make sure that you've got all the residual ink off that. Okay, so that next time you use it, you aren't transferring any of that ink across to your projects. Okay, so there's our blending tool. Right, next let's stamp the sentiment on top of there. So I'm going to use the stamping positioner for that. So let's pop that on there and get this lined up. Put our magnets in place and our sentiment on there. Because it's a circle, as long as it's roughly in the middle, we should be able to orient it so that it looks central. And then we'll pop our, just going to use the small plate, don't need the big plate, so I'll just use that. So your paper might stick when you're first using some of the stamps, so just making sure that that's down like that. Okay, and then we'll use our ink to obviously ink the stamp. And the reason I'm using this is because I want to be able to make sure it's a nice crisp image, so if I need to I can stamp it again, and I'm going to stamp it again. Just to make sure it's nice and sharp. Just to make sure that's lined up. There is a bit of wriggle room in this sometimes, so you just want to make sure that it's sitting where it should. Nice firm pressure on that. There we go. That has double stamped a little bit, but it's okay. Just a bit of a thicker line than it should be. Okay. So you just want to be careful with that you don't get this movement on this little platform. You won't get it on the big one, but that little one, just a little tip there, just to make sure that you're aware of that, and just make sure that it is lined up where you need it to be. But it's fine, it will suffice. Okay, so our little strip that we had, that's going to go behind there. So again, we'll just use some seal for that, just to make sure that that's nice and secure. Love seal, it's fast, easy, quick, strong, and relatively mess free. So let's pop that in there. Okay, and this guy's going to go up on dimensionals. So want them behind the circle, and then either side there. So it's going to go over the top of that this here. So just to help that along and make sure it's sort of sticking flattish over this sort of textured element, I'm just going to apply a little bit of glue on there as well. So that'll just sort of, you know, seep through and just make sure that we've got a nice bond on there. Okay, so again, I'm looking to get it nice and even. I've got the curve of that die to help guide, and I've also got the cutouts from that edge that's helping me just eyeball that that's roughly in the middle, and that will do just nicely. There we go, and we can pop this onto our card base. So again, I'm just doing this flat, so I'm just going to use seal, and I knew that was going to, so that when that red tape appears, you know you're really coming to the end. So I already have one standing by. So when you first start a new roll, just go a little bit slower until it sort of starts running, and then it'll be perfect. So this guy is going to go on the front of our card base. Just looking to get that even-ish, left and right. Okay, and now we can do all our embellishments. Okay, so we've already done one round of the die cuts, and we need some more. So I'm just going to bring in some more white willow, cardstock, and our crisp Cantaloupe ink pad, and we'll stamp that up. So I've mounted all of the stamps onto this larger block. This is a block that's actually not available anymore, unfortunately, but I still have it, so I'm still going to use it. So we'll pop that down like that, and there are dies that we can use to cut those out, so we'll just line those up. Be easy, and even if you're a little bit off, it doesn't really matter. They've got that kind of I don't know, hand-drawn sort of look to them, so I think you can get away with some bits and pieces when you've got those kinds of images. Okay, so we'll just run those through, and this will create our nice embellishments that we want. So we can do, you know, obviously there's all sorts of things you can use to jazz up the card, and some would say it's a bit of an odd colour for leaves, but I say it's your card, you can do what you like. And sometimes doing something that's a little bit out of the ordinary is exactly what you need to do. Okay, so I just want to use 5 of these, but I like these long skinny ones, and I'm just going to bend those in my fingertips so that we've got some dimension going on, bit of movement. Okay, so just want to crease that a little bit, bent, just like so. There's all sorts of tools you can use, but you know, we have tools literally in our hands. Just dabs of glue going in on these. You don't want tons of it. So then you'll still have the movement, but it'll be plenty secure enough, and it will dry quick. Okay, so that one's sticking out a bit further than that one, but that's okay. It just gives it a bit of life, right? So these little ones can pop in here. Like so. Put one of these ones down here, and you can go in between different layers as well. So if you wanted to, you could go in between some of these bits and pieces, depending on how close the glue is to the edges. And this one, we're going to make it look like it's longer than it is, because we can just hide the end of that stem and no one will know how far it goes. So we'll just stick that in like that, and it makes it look like it's a larger die than it is. And then this guy we're going to make look a little smaller than it is by tucking that right in behind here. And it's in a different orientation to this one, so it doesn't look out of place. And you've got all that movement in there, which is cool. And we're just going to decorate with the iridescent pearls. Okay, there are in colour embellishments, but just kind of keep it simple, and use the white to offset the white elements on our card. And that is it. That's our crisp cantaloupe version of this crushed curry version. That was totally accidental that they're both C's, but you get the point anyway. It's a really pretty colour. Like it a lot. And so you can use this as well as a sort of an idea of a layout. Works with lots of colours. You could introduce other bits. A bit of black in the background would be really nice to pop this as well, I think. So think about your compositions and just try them in different colours. The monochromatic look is great. I love it. Okay, do look out. I do a Insta help on a Friday, where we all use a single colour, and it's just brilliant just to have to focus on one colour and then not worry about what matches or anything like that. Okay, so that's my ideas for today. I hope you've enjoyed it. All the links and everything will be in the description. And don't forget, if you join during May, you have an option to have some extra goodies, or you could get the ink pads for free, so it's worth having a look. Links to the website is down in the description. You can read all about it in there, and there will be a supply list as well. You can click on those links and go directly to the store to have a look at those more closely. Okay, that's it from me. Do stay safe, take care, and I'll see you at the next one. Bye bye.